Recorded Books Romance presents an unabridged recording of Some Like It Wild by Teresa Medeiros, narrated by Charlotte Parry and directed by Emily Asher. This book is copyrighted 2009 by Teresa Medeiros. This recording is copyrighted 2010 by Recorded Books, producer and publisher of Romantic Sounds, an imprint that features dramatic tales that will carry you away to exotic locales and sweep you off your feet. And now, Some Like It Wild.
Chapter 1. The Scottish Highlands, 1814. "I need a man," Pamela Darby proclaimed, with the same matter-of-fact conviction she would have used to announce, "I need a scrap of lace to mend my hem," or "I need a fresh turnip for tonight's stew." From the coach seat opposite her, her half-sister Sophie glanced up from studying her worn copy of La Belle Assemblée. The periodical was 2 seasons out of date, but that didn't stop Sophie from sighing over its colourful fashion plates or poring over its recommendations for the rouge most likely to grace a young lady's cheek with a flattering hue. What we need, Pamela amended, is not just any man, but some strapping Scots lad with more brawn than brains. She deepened her voice, faking a burr that would have done bonny Prince Charlie proud. "A lad easily led by 2 canny lasses with more wits than he." "And I'm guessing those lasses would be us?" Sophie ventured, cocking a knowing eyebrow. She winced and wiggled on the battered cushions as the coach shuddered and began to grind its way down another rocky trail that insulted their intelligence by calling itself a road. "Just how do you propose we find this handsome dullard? Should we ask the coachman to stop at the next village and post a broadsheet?" Trusting that her sister would play along with her silly scheme, if only to pass the long hours on the road, Pamela bit her bottom lip. That's not a bad idea. I hadn't considered a broadsheet. How about one that reads, "Wanted. Thick-witted, thick-necked Scotsman to masquerade as Duke's long-lost heir." Perhaps we could nail one up in the market square of each village we pass through. "Just like that one we saw in the last village, warning us that there's a dangerous highwayman with a price on his head, terrorising these very roads, robbing travellers and ravishing innocent women." Sophie's mocking words brought Pamela's flight of fancy crashing down on the jagged rocks of reality. She remembered that broadsheet only too well. A crude sketch had accompanied it, depicting a masked man with a rugged jaw, a pistol in his hand, and a ruthless light in his eyes. She had been drawn to it against her will, her fingertips lightly tracing the incongruous dimple set deep in his right cheek. She could not help wondering what would drive a man to defy both the law and God's commandments by stealing what he wanted instead of paying for it. When Sophie had approached, Pamela had quickly turned away from the broadsheet, afraid her sister might find an echo of her own growing desperation in the highwayman's steely gaze. The memory of that gaze sent a faint shudder down her spine. She was painfully aware that 2 women travelling alone through these wild and rugged climes could easily become the target of more than just mild suspicion and disapproving glances. But they hadn't the means to employ maidservants to give them an air of respectability, or outriders to protect the carriage they'd hired after disembarking from the public coach in Edinburgh. They would simply have to depend upon the elderly coachman and his ancient musket to defend both their lives and their virtue. She forced an airy smile. "From what I've heard about these Highland savages, they're more inclined to ravish their sheep than their women." She ran a hand over her reticule, deriving her own comfort from what she tucked away.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?